You are listening to the Mountainside Podcast, and our guest for this episode is creative director Todd Van Fleet. He's the founder of Tactical Creative, capturing some amazing footage through photography, cinematography, graphic design, and much more. Todd is a true artist that I thoroughly enjoyed sitting down with today, and I hope that you enjoy our conversation. Todd, welcome. Thanks for making the drive over from Superior, and nice to meet you, man.
Dude, this is awesome. So like I said, super grateful, just honored that you reached out, and, you know, I'm all giddy to be on the podcast.
Shout out to awesome. Jeremy Myers, who isn't here tonight. Normally he's sitting in the hot seat over there where Gabby's at.
Yeah, nice.
And he had something last minute come up. So I was like, really, dude, you're going to bail on the guy that you wanted to have come in? Anyways, Jeremy, we love you, buddy. But yeah, no, Jeremy turned me on to you. I guess you guys did a gig together or something, right?
We met in Florida filming a CPAC event, Conservative Republican Convention thing. That was a trip. Super cool, though, you know. Regardless of where you sit politically, I mean, we were just fortunate to get the opportunity to go down and film a video recap of that. And then I also took portraits of all the speakers. So I got to meet some awesome people. Like, I had 5 minutes of FaceTime with Candace Owens. Like, wow. She's a super sweetheart. And, you know, took portraits of her, of Wayne LaPierre, the president of NRA. I got to take his portrait and hang out with his crew for a little bit. And, I mean, just awesome stuff, man. Like, a lot of people in that whole genre.
Yeah, as soon as I saw your work, you take some amazing photos, by the way. So
stop. Yeah. No, I appreciate that.
But yeah, as soon as I saw it, I was like, we gotta have Todd in, man. We got to talk about this. So we are kind of in the same spaces. Like, I know that you shoot a little bit for Origin. They're one of our sponsors here.
No, that's awesome. I'm smack dab in a project with Origin right now. I'm working with Travis, who's their VP of product development right now. We're working on a project together. It's a project. That's all I'll say. Because it's, you know,
Have you done anything with Jocko Fuel? Because they've been really good to us too. And I know at one point they were like, I think they just now kind of are dividing and conquering because it's gotten so big and so popular.
Yeah, they're growing like crazy. I haven't done anything with Jocko Fuel specifically, but with Origin, I did some apparel designs for them. It was about a year and a half ago.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I did a whole set of designs, and then that led to another project that I'm working on. And then it's just been this cool, like, in this space. I have another client that Pete with Origin introduced me to, Kip Folks.
Very familiar. We've been trying to get Kip on, so we've been going back and forth and trying to organize.
Come on, Kip, let's get you on here. You know, you can take your shirt off. Like, he was just on Cam Haynes' podcast with his shirt off.
I haven't caught it yet.
I don't know what the story with that is, and I'm leaving my shirt on. But like, I don't know what the story there was, but so he started Big Truck Brewing out of they're in Maryland, and so I've been doing design work, branding, can designs, packaging designs,
which are super cool. Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, they look great. So we've been following that for a little bit too.
Working with Kip on that, and then and Kip's on the board of Origin and Jocko Fuel now. He's helping those guys.
Yeah, the whole camo line thing that's going now, right?
Yeah,
I mean, they're just crushing it.
They
in
are
all forms and fashions.
Like, and that's like the epitome of the clients that I want to work with. American made. They get it, you know, they're increasing the supply chain here in America. Good dudes, you know, patriotic, family driven, family oriented. I spent years in advertising, and I remember having this like moment of like, what am I doing with my life? You know, and there's crazy stories that led me through advertising, and then, you know, kind of what I'm doing now. But
no, everything that you just said about those guys is fact and point, and that's why they're sponsors of us too, because we get so many companies that reach out to us. Like, I had something the other day. It was a Gothic jewelry company, and I was like, do you even listen to what we do? Like, I don't wear any jewelry.
Oh, like, come on, man. Yeah, he just took all this off when I came in. I got here early, and he's like, oh, wait. And he took all his rings, and you're weird. That's why you wear the headphones. He's got these big Plugs in your
rings
ear.
and all that shit. Yeah, I took that all off to start the podcast. But yeah, no, and they've been awesome with us. Like anything that we've ever reached out, like, hey, we want to go do this. Would you guys be interested in being a part of it? They're always just supportive and love it.
Yeah, and when I first met Pete, actually at an Order of Man event out in Maine, I was out there filming that, and that's how I got to meet Pete and got to hang and chat with him for a little bit. And he had told me that he actually had his own little creative marketing firm before he started Origin. So we hit it off immediately. So, because he's a graphic designer at heart. So, I mean, we just clicked instantly. And then that led to the first project I did with him. And now I'm working on more stuff. And they were referred to me by Ryan Mickler, founder of Order of Man. So I do stuff for him weekly. And
it's a great podcast, by the way.
It's this awesome community, you know.
It is, and it's weird. Like, we didn't connect through that or anything. It's just we just kind of run in the same circles. So when I started seeing all that, when I was doing a little bit of homework, was like, after I saw your amazing photography, and then we started going down the rabbit hole, I was like, oh, this is going to go really well.
Yeah,
this is going to be no problem.
This looks like my kitchen counter at home with the black rifle, and then I got my used to be beer fridge in the garage, and now it's the Jocko fridge.
Right. I know. I've switched. I mean, I still drink Black Rifle coffee, but the Jocko Go's I'm literally addicted to. Like, they can't send them to me fast enough.
Yep.
I still have to go and buy them. Like,
yeah.
I could crush 4 of those in a day.
Yeah.
No problem.
They don't recommend it, but yeah, I think it says just like 2 a day. I mean, maybe I could be wrong about that, but like, I'm always looking like, can I drink 10 more of these today? But
it must be all the vitamin overload.
Probably
right?
won't. So my heart doesn't jump out of my chest, but yeah.
They're not too bad. I think it's only like 95 milligrams of caffeine. So it's not.
Yeah.
An exorbitant
equivalent of a cup of coffee is what I've read or heard. Yeah. So
yeah, no, definitely good stuff. So going back into your photography, and how long have you been at this, man? Because your work's amazing. Like, I'm sure.
Oh, dude, I appreciate that. Like, man, if I was to like say where's it go back to, like anything I do lately or whatever, and I don't mean to get weird on you or anything, but dude, it goes back to God. Like, that's where my talent comes from, 100%. That's where. You know, I feel like I have this theme that everybody is creative, whether you think you are or that you don't think so. But my argument is hey man, we're created by the ultimate creator. He creates all things. He made you, he made me in his image, and he's creative. So you're creative too. And I'm very adamant about that. And like, I don't mean to sound like some Jesus freak or whatever, but
like whether you believe in God or not, or have a religious background or not, I think that to be creative, I mean, Stephen Pressfield said it best in The Art of War.
Yep.
Like, I don't know if you've read that book.
Oh yeah.
Freaking amazing. Yeah. But you know, it's kind of like looking within your inner self to find that creative thing. And sometimes you don't know what it is, you know, sometimes it comes to you in the muse or whatever he calls it, right? Or whatever he dubs it.
Well, I tell people that, you know, like you might not, you know, you don't paint or you don't draw or take pictures, but you could be a ninja at Excel spreadsheets and not realize that that's your gift. Like, you're creative with numbers. Like, I am not. You know, I'm always telling my kids that there's 3 kinds of people in this world. You know, those that are good at math and those that aren't. But, you know. Right. Gabby got that.
No, I'm with you. I was doing the numbers in my head. So obviously I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm really dyslexic, so that was great for me. I would have been like, I'm on board. I'm on board.
Same. And that's I'm wicked dyslexic.
I am too.
ADHD, dyslexia. Yeah. Like, it's all, but I've discovered that that's what kind of my superpower is. And it's taken me a while to like realize that or hone in on that or embrace that, I guess, is a good thing. Actually, Kip Folk said something the other day about that, like that can be your superpower, right?
Oh, 100%. I think it lets your brain focus on other things, because I am as well.
It allows you to be hyper-focused on something that you're super interested in. And most of the stuff, like, I go headfirst into everything that I do. Like, just there's no middle ground with me. My stepdad used to always tell me, I grew up in Wyoming, and he'd be like, if you're going to Chicago, you don't stop in Omaha. It's like, if you're going to do the thing, you go all the way. You don't do it halfway. And so that's just been ingrained in me since I was little. And that's just kind of how I jump into everything.
And it's crazy how many super successful people or professional athletes or artists, they all kind of have something that's underlining like that.
Yeah.
Whether it's ADHD.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had Derek Wolf in here,
Oh,
severe ADHD,
Yeah.
but hyper focused on ripping a quarterback's head off, right? For,
Yeah.
for a number of years until
right.
recently. And now he's
Yeah.
hyper focused on hunting, you know?
Oh,
so
nice.
It's like he's taking that someplace else and getting into film and that sort of thing and filming some of his hunts, which is super cool.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, Gabby, you mentioned dyslexia, right? And like, I'm a big Tim Tebow fan, and I've met him in person. I worked at the Broncos for a while as a photographer.
We just bashed him on the last episode. Not the last episode, but we had Chris Camozzi in here.
Well, I mean,
think I took a little dig on him.
He's got a lot of haters, but I can say that I've met him in person actually multiple times. He is the real deal, 100% the real deal. And I've read all of his books. His books are fascinating. And in, I think it was his second, like, kind of big popular book, he talks about how dyslexic he is and how he had struggled with it when he was a kid. And like, you know, it's like overcoming a disability and dyslexia and stuff like that. Like, I mean, man, I think we're close to the same age. I might have you beat, but like,
I'm 43.
Yep. I just turned 47.
Okay.
I always have to think about it.
Damn, I wouldn't guess that. Yeah.
Thanks, man. But, you know, like when we were kids, ADD wasn't a thing. It was just like,
No. There was no Adderall being fed to kids.
no, and it
all
wasn't
that
like a
sort of stuff.
diagnosable thing. Like I remember being in a small town, mountain town in Wyoming, elementary school, and getting put in a special class because I couldn't do math. I couldn't, you know, focus on reading and all that stuff. And I just remember being like, I'm not supposed to be in this classroom. Like, why am I with these kids and not with my buddies, you know? It was just because ADD and stuff, but like, you know, it's kind of
I had the same exact struggle as a kid. I still struggle with it to this day. Like, I mean, you read some of my text messages, I'm sure.
yeah.
Especially when I get going and Siri doesn't work the way it's supposed to, right? Like now,
Yeah.
goddamn Apple updates. But yeah, no, I think that it's honestly though, like it took me a while I always just felt like I was stupid or dumb or whatever, right? For the longest time. It's like, and I still make those comments about myself, but now it's in a joking manner. Like, oh, I'm just a big dumb guy, right?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But I really think that I took to like the creative arts because of that. Like my strong suits, I started taking photography as soon as you could take a class in middle school. And ended up in a black room. And those were the classes that I excelled and got A's and like hyper focused on sports or whatever I was into, right?
Yeah. I was, dude, exact same way. You know, kind of back to your question. Sorry, I looped way around.
Yeah,
that.
no,
like
we're
when
all
I
good.
started like junior high, I was taking pictures for the yearbook, learning how to use a dark room, you know, taking every single art elective. Had an awesome, big shout out to Melanie Howlett, like an awesome middle school art teacher. And she just encouraged it. My mom was like crazy encouraging into the artist side of me. And that was like just kind of what catapulted. I was like, I'm in sixth grade. I knew I wanted to go to art school. Like most people, you know, most adults don't know what they want to do when they grow up. But I've always known I wanted to be an artist or be, you know, in a creative field, some way, shape, or form.
It's so rewarding.
Yeah.
And I encourage anybody or anyone that has a kid that's struggling with the same thing, like, you know, do your best to help them pursue school and try not to put stipulations on it, because I think that us growing up, like my daughter has dyslexia now, and I hate to bring her up on the podcast publicly about it, but she's an amazing ballerina.
Yeah.
Like she's hyper focused on that. Dance is her creative outlet. She loves to draw, paint, all that sort of stuff. So we've put a ton of effort into that to where she's almost doing that pretty much like a full-time job. Like she dances probably 6 to 7 days a week and does art outside of that when she's at home. She knows how to sew. She can make all this amazing stuff, right?
How old is she?
Super dyslexic though. She's 12.
Oh, I have a 14-year-old daughter,
Okay.
and they sound like they would be buddies because my daughter's the same way. She's just like I was, only like amplified, like with her creativity, her skill set.
Yeah.
She's drawing stuff that I'm like trying to tell her. I'm like, I wasn't drawing like that till I was in like later in high school, and you're in middle school just crushing it, you know. And she's drawing, painting, everything under the sun, and I'm just trying to feed that. Like Christmas, she got this giant box with all these art supplies. And my wife, shout out to my wife, she's just absolutely brilliant. She's getting her doctorate right now in education, and you know, she has taught me all these things about like kids that have ADD or dyslexia or whatever. There's this concept of twice exceptional. You know, they might be struggling with one thing here, but there's something else that's usually way above average, right? Like that helps balance that out. And that those are the things that you need to feed, right?
100%.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was getting at. And I don't think when you and I were growing up that they looked at it that way.
No.
It was just
Oh,
like
no.
you were going to go to special ed and
Yeah.
during reading or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
fortunately, I was fairly good at math, but that was like the only, and I was super into history.
Yeah.
But history involved a lot of reading. Well, everything does, right? Math
Right.
problems,
Yeah.
all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I have to force myself to read, and it's been actually the most rewarding thing is like just slowing down and actually forcing myself to read. And it was, you know, doing the shout out to First Form, the 75 hard program. Like you have to read 10 pages a day when you do that program.
What is that program? Because you mentioned it when you came in.
Yeah,
and I have a couple friends that have done it, but I know nothing about it. So.
Yeah, so my wife and I did it. We're on our next round of doing it again, and it's bonkers, dude. And this like you're gonna love this because we sound very similar. And it's like if I do something, you have to go all the way. So when I like heard about it, I'm like, oh, that'd be something I would do. Something just nuts. So it's 75 days straight. No sugar, no alcohol. You pick a diet, you stick to the diet. You have to take a progress picture every day. You have to read 10 pages every day. And it's 2 45-minute workouts. One of the workouts has to be outside. Did I miss anything, Ken? And water. That's why I'm going to have to pee like 10 times during this podcast, but you got to drink like 80 ounces or 60 ounces of water, something. You got to drink a ton of water. 1 gallon.
That's awesome. It's so good for you to have a routine like that or something to stick to. Like I just recently went through working with some awesome doctors, nutritionists, and that sort of thing. Massive weight loss.
Yeah.
And it was just actually sticking. It was basically eliminating almost everything from my diet except for meat.
Yeah.
For 100 days.
Yeah.
And it was a drastic change, and I feel so much better. And I really think that just the mental gratification that I got out of that was almost more than losing the weight. Like it was like,
yes.
God, I did this for 100 days. I didn't touch a fucking potato chip or anything, right? And I got, you know, when you have kids, that stuff's everywhere. It's on the counters. It's like
friggin' Crumble app. They like new flavors every week. Damn you.
Right.
You know, like, yeah.
Yeah, but I think like just sticking to that, that's so cool that's a thing. 2 workouts a day. That's heavy.
Dude, it's bonkers. And the kicker is if you miss a day, you start over. You start over.
You got to
from
go
day
back
one.
to.
You got to go back.
Okay. So how far in are you now?
I'm only on day 5 of doing this the second time around.
You gotta,
so
yeah.
But in Andy Frisella, dude, your voice kind of like when I first heard your podcast, I'm like, he sounds like Andy Frisella.
Okay.
Side note, but like,
I don't know who that is, honestly.
you don't know, dude. Okay.
What?
Sorry.
Okay.
He started
Gabby,
First Form,
let's pull him up.
Andy Frisella, like he's a big deal. He's got a podcast that you would love to check out. Like, and he's hardcore. Like at first I was like, oh man, I don't know about this guy. But then I like learned his story. Like, you know, like look at his picture.
I know who this is.
He's just pissed off in his pictures, right?
I know exactly who this is. I've only seen a few memes, but he is just like hard in the paint, right?
And he's got exactly. He's got a book about 75 hard, and it's awesome. And you read it as you go through the program.
This is his program?
Yeah, he came up with this program, and I think it was like, I think it started with a bet. Like, I'm probably gonna butcher the heck out of this, and Jake, don't kill me. Jake is a guy I met who started First Form Outdoors. So, but anyways, I think it was a bet, and like he got in an argument over like 30 days to make a habit stick, right? Like that's whatever the argument. And he's like, no, I'm calling BS. He's like, I think it's like 75 days. You got to do something for 75 days to actually make it stick. And they were like, you can't do whatever.
30 days is easy.
Yeah. And he's like, okay, here, let's make a list of things for 75 days and I'll do it. And I think this is kind of like in a not so round way how 75 hard started. So he wrote this program, and then he wrote a book about it, and it's gotten crazy popular. And the first time we did it was like just over 2 years ago. So it's been around for a bit.
Okay.
And
I can't believe I haven't heard of this.
Man.
I know who that is though,
Yeah.
for sure. So
yeah, I mean, he's got big hitters. Ed Milet, like, you know, on his show frequently, like over and over. But yeah.
it's so hard. Since I've started the podcast, I have to be careful. I love podcasts, and I'll go down a rabbit hole, and
Yeah.
I will consume as much as I can, but I try not. I found out that it was influencing me a little bit in here too.
Oh, right.
So like
Yeah.
if I have a guest that's coming in, I won't go listen to podcasts that they've done.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, you want to keep
mean,
it organic. That's good.
But I did go and check out Tim Kennedy's today on why am I drawing a blank right now? The podcast that you help produce.
Order of Man.
Order of Man.
Yeah.
And I got about 5 minutes into that and I couldn't turn it off because the conversation was so good at the beginning about family
Yeah.
and time management.
Yep.
And it was just incredible. And
Yeah,
what a good message.
Tim
I mean,
he's a great dude. You know, we got the meme. He's like clowning around with us. I got a picture I could show you, you know. I was like, oh, dude, can I get a picture? And he like grabs me and he's like, ah! I was like, oh my God, what did I get myself into? You know?
right.
Yeah, he's a good
he's a
dude.
beast of a man.
Yeah.
But that was so good. It actually made me go home today and was like, okay, I'm going to go do my workout with my 5-year-old daughter.
Yes.
So we're shadow boxing
Yeah.
each other and doing Tabatas on the heavy bag and
Nice.
stuff. And it was awesome. So
Yeah.
it inspired me today.
Dude, getting your kids involved is like the best thing. You know, my kid, you know, kids are obviously, I mean, it's like, you know, I don't want to do a rant on parenting, but they're always watching. So if you can get them in on
so
it.
easily influenced.
I had built, we had done 75 hard the first time, like 2-3 months into COVID, the lockdown. Wow. Dude, that honestly saved me from just seriously packing on the LBs. You know, yeah. I'd be a big boy if it wasn't for that, because, and it like kept our sanity. You know, we had that, and like you couldn't buy any workout, you know, equipment because everybody under the sun wanted it.
So this is kind of right after it first came out, right? Because you said he developed it a couple years ago.
We did it a couple years ago.
Okay.
I didn't know how long it'd been around before we did it, but then, you know, like gyms were closed and everything, and my wife loves going to the gym and yoga and all that stuff, and you know, she was getting bummed that she couldn't go, and I was like, well, you know, I'm gonna build a gym in the garage, and I'm like, yeah, me and everybody else on the planet at that time.
Good luck getting kettlebells. Yeah. Like Onnit's one of our sponsors.
Yeah.
I called them up and they were
oh,
like,
yeah.
Unless you're Joe Rogan, we don't have any
Yeah.
kettlebells at all.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. It's like not even for me.
Marcus Aubrey on it, right?
Yeah.
I read his book. Yeah. But sorry, I'm all like, I read now. I'm ADD and I can read. But no.
Which I want to go back to that here in a minute. But
Yeah.
go ahead and finish with the 75 days.
And so, you know, I set on this quest to build a gym in the garage, and you know, I couldn't find anything, and I got so lucky. I would check Craigslist like every 5 minutes. And these like two bros, this is how I picture, like, you know, 24-year-old like bros are like, oh, we're going to be roommates now. And they both had like full sets of gym equipment. And they're like, well, we need beer money or whatever it is, so let's put one of the sets on Craigslist. And it was like up, and I hit them up immediately. And they didn't know, like, they could have charged me 4 times, 5 times what I bought it for. But I got a pretty cool setup.
Yeah, it was insane during that. Luckily, I had some stuff in my garage and a little gym built prior to that. But to get anything extra or over and above, like, Onnit did hook me up with some of those sandbags.
Okay.
So that was easy to go. You can get dirt anywhere.
yeah. There was no shortage on sand. Yeah,
just had to wear my mask to go to Home Depot to buy some sand or whatever. You know,
God.
It's so crazy.
Yeah.
What we went through and what's coming to light now.
Yeah.
Like, it blows me away.
Yeah, and I can't believe how it seemingly was yesterday, but it's also so long ago.
It seems like ages ago, doesn't it?
We have Kaiser's, our health insurance, and I got an email yesterday. I was telling my wife, I was like, so apparently Kaiser's like fine now. It's like as of like May 11th or something that the federal emergency, COVID emergency is
they finally lifted
is
it.
over, right? I mean, we were actually pleased that I coached my son's baseball team, and he took a pitch to the face at his game on Friday. This last Friday night, and he wears glasses in it. I shouldn't be laughing at this.
Is he all right?
Yeah, he's fine. He had a mild concussion, but we took him in to get looked at, and we were like, wait, what's going on? They didn't make us wear masks to go into the hospital and stuff. I was like, oh, finally, hopefully. I don't know,
Finally
anyways.
coming around.
I don't want to go on that rant, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, man. I'm glad it's all over, and
Yeah.
I'm glad that people are actually hip to what actually works and what doesn't now, Yeah. Thank goodness to alternative media, man, because I think that's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
But going back to the 75 days, so you
Yeah.
have to read 10 pages a day. Is that what you said?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
10
of
pages.
anything, or is it something?
Yeah,
that
you can
they-
read anything.
Okay,
Like,
so it's not a cult. Like, here's what you need. to
No,
read.
no. So I mean, oh man, like the first round I read, Jocko's Extreme Ownership was one of the books I read.
Great book.
James Clear's Atomic Habits.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody should just read that book.
That's awesome.
It's an incredible book. Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. I read
I
that
haven't
one.
got into that.
Super good. I have a stack. Like I have a picture of the books that I read, and they're all incredible. And I would reread them in a heartbeat. This time around,
I use the shit out of Audible.
Yeah,
because I love that. No matter where I'm going, I can throw in the headphones.
So there's a rule. It's got to be paper pages.
That makes sense.
It's got to be tactile, tangible.
There is something about that.
Yeah.
And I guess I just kind of grew out of my dyslexia because I can read fine now. I could sit down and read a book. And I don't like to, though. I don't have the patience to.
I run into that.
There's too much stuff that starts running through my mind. And like, I feel like with Audible or something, I can multitask and do it. It's always on when I'm in the gym.
Yeah, there you go.
Occasionally, if I can't sleep at night, if I got too much shit on my mind, I'll throw in something, the Four Agreements or whatever.
Oh, great book.
And just listen to something like that. And it does make me relax a little bit to where I can go to sleep. But Audible's great when it comes to that for me. But there is something about having like just a book to pick up,
Yeah.
Like we got a bunch in here. I got to send you with one of these too from Donnie Dust. He's who made these arrowheads for us. He's a napper, outdoor primitive survival guy. You should definitely link up with him. Doing all kinds of stuff. He's actually up in your area.
Oh, really? I saw he was just on your right?
He's been on, I think, 5 times. One time we lost a recording. The power went out, and I didn't have any battery backups or anything. No. And we were like 2 hours into the podcast, and we lost the audio recording. I was like, oh, God. That's, that's the bread and butter of podcasting. So,
oh, man.
But, I'll send you with one of his scavenger books.
Oh,
and
sweet.
It's even signed and everything.
Nice.
Super rad, dude. He, former Marine. So he's a veteran. And just one day he just decided he had all the badass outdoor shit and just decided I want to go back to stone tools and everything. So he hunts, provides, he works he works a lot with CU up there in Boulder, CU Boulder, and they do all kinds of primitive studies. So they'll have him make a tool and then throw atlatls into a bison and then have him process the whole thing with stone tools.
What?
Like it's next level.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It makes me feel weak as a bow hunter with a compound bow, Yeah. But I love Donnie. He's salt of the earth. Just a great guy too. But going back into dyslexia a little bit and some of that is I think that there is something, and I think the best way to get over that is just to like, we were sheltered as kids growing up, or I was, the way it was perceived is like, oh, well, we'll read to you. Yeah. That doesn't help.
No.
It's like the practice of reading. So later in life, honestly, I think once email came around and was like such a staple to have.
Oh, yeah, you had
I think
to read.
that's what made
That's
me,
the only reason I learned how to type.
Right.
Like, typing class in high school for me, it was like, this is dumb.
Oh, it sucks.
And then it was like, all of a sudden I was like,
back when they had typewriters.
All of a sudden. Yes, dude. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Some
The
of these
electronic
kids listening
typewriter.
have to look that up.
Yeah, they don't even know what a typewriter is. But yeah, I think just sticking with that, and then feeding your kids or whoever might have that with some sort of creative outlet, right? And let them know how good they are at it. Like my daughter is dyslexic and she can read just fine. I mean, anything that I send her, she can read books. Reading out loud is very hard.
Okay, yeah. That actually really helps, is what I've heard. I could be wrong. My wife's gonna.
I would imagine.
That's
yeah,
not correct info, but.
But she's a state champion in art.
Nice.
I mean, she won a state championship. I think a couple of them, which is awesome. You know, for some stuff that she submitted.
Yeah.
And she's danced at pretty much the highest level that I think that she can. Okay. Gabby, you'll have to correct me on this, but she trains at Bolshoi Academy and all these different Colorado Ballet and all these different spots. So I think just feeding that. If anybody's listening to this and they know anybody that has that, just feed them.
Yeah.
With something else,
absolutely.
man. It's so important.
Yep. Yeah. Because they're going to be exceptional at something else.
Diving back into your childhood and stuff, like you took photography in middle school, grew up in Wyoming in the mountains. So were you big into the outdoors as a kid? Yeah. Was your dad?
So Lander, Wyoming. It's right at the base.
I know right where it's
the
at.
Gateway of the Wind River Mountains, right? And
incredible country.
Little shout out, Knowles. If you know what that is, it's the National Outdoor Leadership School. Their international headquarters is in Lander, Wyoming. Another fun fact is the International Climbers Festival. Like, they could pick anywhere in the world. They host it in Lander, Wyoming. And one of the great books I read that we were talking about was, okay, so politics aside, Patagonia. But Yvon Chouinard, the guy that started Patagonia, he's got a book called Let My People Go Surfing. Fantastic book.
Really?
Probably one of the coolest books I've read. And this is he wrote this years ago before whatever. Like I said, we'll keep the politics of their company out of this, but this is a dude that you and I could relate to because he grew up. Actually, his best friend was the founder Hap Schlop. I think that's right. You've got your Alfred over there is the founder of North Face. Like those two dudes were like best friends, and they
were
up.
Like partners at one point or something.
So
right?
I don't know if they were partners, but they just used to go surfing and climbing and camping and everything together. And Yvon Chouinard was like, thought that there's got to be a better way to make climbing gear. So he taught himself how to be a blacksmith so he could make his own gear.
Really?
And I'm like, that's something I would do. Like, yeah. And so he, and then now it's Patagonia. And then the other guy goes off and starts North Face. And then there's a cool thing in there and how the companies have actually helped each other out, And like Patagonia grew like crazy. And then like North Face wanted to expand into Europe, and Patagonia had a factory there already. And Yvon was like, yeah, come over and check out our factory and I'll show you how we do it. And I was just like, that seems like it's unheard of.
Very cool.
For big corporations like that to do that. But
do you know the history of Harley Davidson and all?
I don't.
There's a great documentary on it. I think it was like a 3-part like little series of maybe 6 hours or something that I think the History Channel did at one point, which was really cool. But to dive even further into it, have you spent any time in Alabama at all?
Nope.
Birmingham?
No, I've been there.
If you make it to Birmingham, awesome place to go photograph is the Barber Museum. And I mean, they have motorcycles from the beginning of motorcycles. Like they have a steam engine motorcycle.
Okay.
They have like the first lawnmower, and it's just like this engine with a blade on it and 4 wheels, dude. Like it is the most dangerous thing you've ever seen. They have all this amazing stuff. But I took a little tour there, and I was actually doing some photography work there. And we went down this rabbit hole with this guy that kind of procures and makes. They started making outboard boat motors, little, like troller motors.
Yeah, right, like little fishing boat.
And Harley Davidson and then Johnson were the two companies. And then they both started building motorcycles, and they just basically they were best friends.
Oh, wow.
They just came to an agreement and were like, hey, I'm going to stick to outboard motors. you stick to motorcycles.
No way.
And that's kind of parted that way.
Oh,
And
that's
two
rad.
huge
Yeah.
companies.
Yeah, that's
of
so
that
cool.
time and era that helped shape America. Help win wars. It was crazy.
Man.
Like the history behind it, like some of those old police bikes and military bikes and all that sort of stuff that happened in World War
with like
II.
the sidecar on and
crazy
stuff.
yeah. And then women making them in the factories when the men were at war, like just crazy stuff, right? Because it was kind of a craze then. And then they have a whole history on there was like a wooden track that they would race Harleys around,
like a velodrome thing.
Oh my god, dude, it's wild.
Madness.
Wild, yeah. And they have a whole little exhibit on that. But just amazing works of art in there.
Yeah.
And they have everything from like, the beginning of Harley Davidson up till present day.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah,
If I get down
definitely
there,
have
I'll
to
check that out.
Where was I going with that? It's super cool that you can take something that it just takes. This shows people, and I'm totally fucking this up right now. But like, I try to do this. I have so many people that reach out to me for podcast help.
Okay.
Because they see what we're doing here, and they're like, "Hey, how'd you do this?" And I'm just an open book with them, right? And I think in the photography world, I've had some awesome mentors that have helped me out. And
man, I think you've got to be, and that's how you connect with people. It's like people that are just like so protective of their craft or whatever. It's like, fine, good for them, whatever. But I think, that's what we're doing right now with I was telling you this YouTube channel we're starting. It's just a channel about creativity. Like, I've worked on so many crazy projects and come up with these silly ideas that I think people would love to know how, because people are always asking me, like, how did you do that? Or what gear are you using? What camera do you have? Or whatever, right? So it's like, we're just going to share that. So Design, Shoot, Build, that's our channel about sharing creativity. And honestly, we're having a blast.
That's
I say
awesome.
we, and my buddy Ken's over there. He's working with me full time now, and we've partnered on this channel, and we have a humongous list of ideas of videos we want to make, and we're trying to crank them out and just have fun doing it.
Yeah, and it's nice to help people, man. It feels good, Like, I enjoy helping people and seeing other people's success instead of, being jealous of it. It's hard sometimes, but
yes.
Like when I saw Cameron Haynes' podcast come out and the production level of that, I was like,
Next
holy
level.
smokes, man.
Yep,
This
he
is
did it up.
amazing,
Yep.
right? Like,
He came out the gate with it.
yeah.
And it was funny because I went to Austin with Ryan Mickler for Order Man. We filmed Tim Kennedy, and then Cam was down there at his publisher because his book had just come out, or was just about to just come out. And so we got to interview him and hang with Cam. And then Cam was kind of like, I noticed him like eyeballing all my gear and everything. And he was like, yeah, we're going to, he's like, if you do it right, like this. I was like, oh yeah. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to start a podcast. And I was like, oh, wow. I can't wait to see what he does.
So you had the inside on that, huh?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's pretty awesome. I don't know where I was going with that, but, it's just kind of back to the YouTube channel, sharing, all of that stuff. Oh, no, you said something, the haters is like you see somebody doing something and you're like, whatever.
Jealousy, right?
Yeah, the jealousy thing like that. It's so kind of what even got me into this is like a perfect example of that is there's a photographer. Do you know who Peter McKinnon is?
I don't know. Let's look him up, Gabby.
Dude, you're going to love this guy. He's got to go to YouTube, look up Peter McKinnon, but he has tons of videos about photography and now he's like branched into other stuff like motorsports and things like that. But during COVID, I've never been like a YouTube guy or watched YouTube, but during COVID I was watching YouTube like way more than I thought I would. And so he's got like hundreds of thousands of views, 1.3 million, he's got 5 million followers on YouTube, but I was watching his videos and I'm like, this guy ain't doing anything that I've never done before. And I was like, screw this guy. I was like, I don't like this guy. This is stupid, and then I was like, watch another video, watch another one of his videos. And I was like, what, why don't I like this? Like, I'm like, he's doing it. He's just doing it. Like, all I have to do is do it. I mean, it sounds easy. It's way harder to just do it. So I was like hating on him because he was doing it and I wasn't. And then once I was like, told myself stop being a douche about it, I was like, okay, this guy's awesome. He's sharing his craft. He's excited about it. Like, so he was a huge inspiration for the channel we're doing. So
that's awesome.
yeah, it's like.
No, it's great that you can build off that. Have you been in contact with him at all? Or
No,
anything?
I haven't. I don't know, but I had this weird feeling. I was like, I told Ken, didn't I tell you? I was like, I have a feeling like in the next year, for some reason, we're gonna somehow bump into him. I don't know if that'll happen, but if it does, I'll hit you up and we could do.
Well, we got it on tape now too.
Yes, today's the date, so 12 months from now,
No, that's crazy. I've been super fortunate in that space because I do shoot a little and stuff. And like, have you seen Untamed Images? Jason Loftus. We've had him on the podcast.
I think because when you reached out, I looked him up and like, was he a Zoom interview for you? Was he?
Yeah,
at his house?
he was. Yep. Yeah. He's an awesome guy.
Is he in Colorado? Is he
no,
around here?
He's actually in Utah.
Utah? Okay, yeah.
I think he's outside of Salt Lake.
I think if you have Gabby look at the comments, like I feel like I might have been one of the first to comment. I was like, dude, let's the three of us go out and shoot like together.
Oh yeah,
be fun.
I think I do remember that actually.
What's his name?
If you go to our Instagram page, I'm pretty sure Todd left a comment during his episode. It's Jason Loftus.
I think I commented on the
Untamed
YouTube
Images. On the YouTube.
Yeah.
Okay.
Listen to us. The YouTube. We're these old guys.
Should I do
Go to the Google.
Yeah.
Go to the YouTube. Yeah.
The YouTube?
Yeah.
No, but Jason's a great guy. Like long before I had the podcast, I reached out to him and was like, hey, I'm thinking about going up and trying to shoot some of these animals up in Wyoming. And he was just super gracious with it. And then one of the things that he does now on his Instagram is he'll put his camera settings behind it because people were asking him all the time, like, what'd you do? So he puts all of his camera settings in there. So
boom, there's my comment. Yeah.
Hell yeah. We got to like that.
Yep.
So bad at keeping up with that stuff. Well, I try not to read the comments.
That's what we're learning is the more engagement you get and the more you interact with them, that all of those little tiny things are what add up to help.
Really?
The algorithm.
Yeah, I could use some help in that department for sure. So
I got a YouTube ninja over there. Yep.
Super rad. So going back into how you kind of got into this, and then how long have you been shooting? Did it just carry on from middle school?
Yeah, it totally never stopped. I went to art school, had taken all the electives that there was known to man, and I knew my first job I ever had was in my stepdad's tire store in Lander, Wyoming. At 13, I had rolled his snowmobile and broke the windshield, just jacked it up. And I remember he was, I don't know if he and my mom were married even at the time, but he was like, oh, I guess you're going to have to come work in the tire store to pay for that windshield. And I was like, oh, yeah, he's kidding. He was like, nope. That next Saturday, I was in the tire store, like cleaning the oil spills and cleaning the bathroom and just grunt work, and then that was all through high school. I knew I didn't want to do that the rest of my life. So I was like, worked hard to try to get a scholarship to art school and applied to like every art school in the country. Like,
gotta get out of here. Right?
Yeah, and
there's something about growing up in a small mountain town too, where you feel like you're trapped almost, right? Like I grew up right here, and I kind of felt that way.
Okay, but it landed me in Denver. I went to the Rocky Mountain College of Art and Design. Absolutely loved my experience there. 4-year school, got a Bachelor of Fine Arts with a minor in majored in illustration, and then got a degree in graphic design and illustration. And then I've just been in the creative field ever since. And, worked at a software company as an art director that made photography software, kind of like a baby version of Photoshop is what these guys were doing. And so I got to play with all these new digital cameras that were come out because the programmers needed the firmware from the camera to make it talk to the computer and all this stuff. And then they would just sit on a shelf and I'd be like, let me take these and play with them and use them. And this is like a 3 megapixel Kodak back Nikon, $15,000 3 megapixel digital camera, that was an SLR that you could put lenses on.
So at what point did you start shooting on film then?
Yeah.
Like 35 millimeter?
Yeah. Yep.
And then when did you make that?
Hipster before hipster,
There was no other option back then.
No, there wasn't. I remember being in high school and my journalism teacher telling me that there was going to be a digital camera one day. That like you could take a picture and look at it on the screen, and I was like, right, that's like future. That's like,
yeah, because it's so different from how I started was on 35 millimeter film, and all you had was 38 shots,
Yeah.
And that 38 shot might be a half a shot.
Oh, right.
Or something, right? If you were at the end of the film, and then you had to keep the canisters dark, so you had the whole dark bag, and then going into the light room and doing that. And
no instant gratification. You'd have to wait who knows how long to see what the pictures look like.
Yeah. And I think that really made me understand composure.
Yeah.
Like, because if you only have 38 shots,
you're
not going to be just sitting there just snapping photos at whatever, right?
Yep.
Like, I always see people on the plane now just clearing their iPhone photos, like going through and deleting stuff. And I'm guilty of it too, like you have a digital camera, it just makes you take more pictures.
Yep. I mean, you have to slow down and learn the basics. My biggest photography inspiration was Ansel Adams, hands down.
Amazing.
Like, I just remember seeing posters and like, I was like, I want to do that. And, one of his most iconic, famous pictures of all time was taken at the bend in the Snake River with the Tetons behind it.
Yeah.
And I was there all the time because Lander's not far from Jackson Hole, from the Tetons. And, like, I'd go up there camping with my dad all the time. And I just remember, like, I was always there. And then I remember seeing, like, a big black and white frame print one day, like, somewhere. And I was like, hey, we've been there. And then, learning that this guy's, like, this insane famous photographer. Like, I was like, wait, you can actually do that with your life? Like, I'm pretty sure that's what the spark of was. Like, yeah, I'm going to go to art school. I'm going to do all the things, right? Michelangelo, Picasso, Salvador Dali, like all of these guys like inspired me, like, and then now there's just so many creative things. And
so avenues. Did you do a deep dive into history?
I had to take art history
and stuff like that.
Yeah, I did, take all the basic classes to learn composition, exposure, f-stop, ISO, all the things, right? And then so, getting dialed in with that with film, and then now it's just like, well,
all I had in my camera, I think it was an old, like, I think my first one was a Kodak 35 millimeter, and all it had was a light meter.
Yep.
And I think it was a 35 millimeter fixed lens.
Yep.
Like no changes. It was a hand-me-down camera from one of my uncles that shot, and that's kind of who. Thank God I had him, because I grew up poor. I wouldn't have had a camera.
Yeah.
But it was my prized possession for a long time.
When I was 13, I bought my first camera, and it was a Pentax K1000.
Yeah.
Full manual. You could interchange the lenses, and that's what I used to take pictures in yearbook and the school newspaper. I still have that camera.
Dude, that's
bad. We were talking about.
I wish I still had mine.
We were talking about the box, your Fuji X100 sitting over there, and I told you that I'd gotten one. And so what led me to that, man, was COVID. I got bored, and I was looking at my old film cameras, old Canon AE1 and the Pentax K1000, just sitting on the shelf collecting dust. And I was like, I'm gonna clean them off. I'm gonna refurbish them and like get them all dialed in, and find the battery so that the light meter would work, and get them working, go buy some film and just have fun and see. And it was awesome. And it lasted like 5 minutes after the first time I like took the film in. I was like, nope, I don't want to pay for this anymore. And it sent me down the rabbit hole.
Like instant gratification, right? Like sometimes you didn't know what you were getting.
Well, it was the cost for me. Yeah. I was like, oh gosh.
Yeah, now.
But
remember they used to have the 1 hour photo shops everywhere, where you would drop off your film, and an hour later you'd get it back.
Super crazy movie, by the way, with Robin Williams. Do you remember that movie? 1 hour photo.
I do, yeah.
Oh, anyways, okay, but so that sent me on a wormhole, and I ended up finding.
Where do you even take film now?
You could take it. Actually, just quite a few places. There's a place, Mike's Camera in Boulder, is where I was taking my stuff, and then there's another place called Victory Camera. They used to be in Boulder. They just moved to Denver, by the way. Like if you ever need something, vintage camera or like whatever, like I discovered them because I was looking for some old tripods, because I'm always making stuff, dude, like random crap, but I would make lamps out of old tripods.
Oh, nice.
So it could be in the corner, just stand in the corner, and you can get like $9 at Home Depot as a lamp kit. You get the plug and the thing to screw the bulb in, and electrical, all the things. I'm not electrically handy in any way, shape, or form. I can build stuff with wood, and my style is rustic because it's not perfect. So I just say, oh, it's rustic, But yeah,
it's much easier, right?
Yeah, exactly.
No, that's great. So you can still take film in and get it developed.
Oh yeah. It's a
That's
thing.
pretty wild.
Yeah. It's
It's
actually,
a hipster thing now, right?
It comes in waves of like the hipster movement, like film photography being cool, or like, oh, now it's this or that or whatever. It's like Polaroids have like made a resurgence, you know?
I know. Yeah. That's wild.
Yeah. Like actual, the Polaroid cameras with the white border
Shake it
and
like
stuff.
a Polaroid picture.
Yeah. Well, so funny enough, like we did a big project where I bought 4 Polaroids and we took like 300 portraits over a weekend with Polaroids. And then like after researching Polaroid and all that stuff, you're not supposed to shake them.
Really?
It says it like right on the back of the
that damn song ruined it all.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Thanks a lot.
I don't even remember who it was.
Outcast.
Outcast.
Yeah. Big Boy or whatever the dude's name is. Andre.
Well,
Andre
some of those Polaroid prints, like there was one that was sold to Jim Morrison for like, I want to say it was like, look up Jim Morrison Polaroid photo, because they're one of a kind.
Oh, right.
Like if you can actually find
a
a vintage one of somebody famous, they're worth a shit ton of money. Like,
Yeah.
I think they sold this Polaroid photo for like $1 million+ or something.
Well,
it was insane.
So, the big NFT movement, right? So there's I can't stand the dude, so I'm not even mentioning his name, but there's a YouTuber that took like a Polaroid every day for a year, and then he sold them as his NFTs.
Really?
And like, they're just shit, right? Like this, but because he's like this famous YouTuber, people were buying him like crazy. But, that was his creative outlet. I mean, good for him. He thought of something and sold them for a crap ton and whatever. But
Yeah, I don't understand that whole side of the NFTs and just crypto in general.
No,
is not,
same.
It's
I don't
super
even,
foreign to me.
Probably sound ridiculous, but I don't. It scares me because I don't know it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know it either. So you made the jump to digital. And then what was kind of like your first solidifying gig? Like, I know you've had a ton of crazy gigs since then, like shooting presidents and shooting.
Well, no presidents.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah.
Well, CPAC, right?
Yeah,
you're there.
Some of these people might be president one day, right. So I'll be like, hey, I got their portrait. Yeah, that's a great question. So, I worked at a portrait studio, like down in Highlands Ranch, and that wasn't like any big deal where, it wasn't commercial stuff. I mean, we were doing some stuff for small businesses and things like that. But Denver Broncos, I was hired on as a art director and photographer for the Broncos. So NFL, that was, I guess you could say that was a big deal, or it was something. It was something. Let's put it that way.
Did you enjoy it, or?
So here's what's crazy. So this was, I snagged this job right after the 2008 recession. And I'm going to sound like some old timer, it's like the recession. But that was a rough time for my wife and I. We had both been laid off from our jobs. And so I had applied for this job along with like 150 other people. And no joke, and then, waited forever to hear back or whatever. And then I'd gotten a phone call or an email that they were like, oh yeah, hey, we got your book. And so dude, I sent them.
Was that your first big gig, or
I'd say that's definitely the biggest gig that I got.
Were you shooting professional sports or anything?
Yeah, I wasn't shooting pro sports. I was shooting tons of sports. I had a smaller gig before that with, remember, I don't even know if the website's still up, EXPN. So ESPN's X Games thing.
Nice.
So there was a client hired me to shoot X Games in Aspen one year. Like that was the year Shaun White won it all. I think he's won all of them, but like back then. But he was in all black everything, black goggles.
Was it the year that Brian Deegan broke himself like
backflip on the snowmobile? I think it was
on dirt bike.
Oh, so this was winter. X Games.
This was on the ice. It was like the first winter X Games, I think.
Well, there was a dude that same year who tried to, like the first time you'd ever see a dude on a snowmobile doing a backflip. Right. And I want to say like broke his back or something crazy. Or maybe he just pulled it off. But I remember snowmobile backflip that year for some reason.
Okay.
But anyways.
Yeah, when X Games first started, they would they drilled like tech screws to stud the tires, and they made this ice jump, and it was freestyle motocross.
Oh,
off
that's
the
right.
ice.
Oh, on the Winter X Games. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was insane. And I was standing at the base of the jump when Brian Deegan just
man.
destroyed himself. I mean, it
Was this up in,
so bad. It was
Aspen,
in Aspen. I think
Buttermilk?
it was the first year.
Wow.
I was working for Red Bull at the time.
Okay. Oh, nice, dude.
Was I there with Red Bull? I don't know. I can't remember, but yeah, I was working for them at the time.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was crazy to be there and see that all go down.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was in my mid-20s at that point, and it was cool to have a camera and be on the side of the half pipe, and you know, it was like total party atmosphere and stuff. And I'd say that at that time that was the biggest gig thing that I'd gotten. And then
it's fun stuff to shoot. Like I've been fortunate to shoot some freestyle motocross and some other stuff like that, which is super rad. But I really enjoy like freezing those moments and like trying to capture it. There's something there too. It's
like you take thousands of clicks and then you get one, and it's like, yes.
Now, are you rapid fire in something like that?
Depends on what
like
sports.
That?
Yeah, 100%. It's like, you know, it's like hammer down on the shutter.
And then you're just hours behind the screen swiping.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah, okay.
Well, you know, and then I learned to cull on the back of the camera. Right, like any free moment, like on the sidelines of the football game, you know.
Right.
I learned that quick. Like after the first game, when I was culling through the pictures. I was like, oh, geez, there's got to be an easier, better way. And so it was like any free moment you have, you're stopping and you're like, you know, culling on the back of the, because there's gonna be a million blurry ones, and then the one sharp one, you're like, yes, that's good. And I remember the first game I shot, so everything that I had shot for was internal. So for Game Day magazine and for the website and stuff like that. And I remember like the next day, like one of the shots I took was on the homepage of Broncos.com. I was like, yes, this is cool. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So was it a little nerve wracking going in there? Like, shit, I got the job, or is it?
So back to that, like I told you, they were like, we got your book. So everybody's submitting portfolios digitally. Like here's a PDF or here's my website, which I had all that, but I made a custom, I called it the creative playbook. So I printed this thing that looked like a coach's playbook and like printed it and had it bound, and I put it in this cool looking box with this like football thread texture on the cover and mailed it to them. And I was like, there's no way they don't open this, you know, and like at least get their attention. And it got their attention. And so they called me up and they're like, man, you're the only one that sent like a hard copy portfolio, and this is pretty sweet. And so that's how I got the first interview.
And it goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning, having something tangible.
Something tangible.
In
I'm
your
like
hands,
a big tactile guy. Like, yeah. And so that was awesome. And then I think the next like test or interview thing was they gave me a project, you know, like, here, design these things for us, because the role was just for like an art director position. And then once they got to know me, I kind of discovered they filled 2 jobs with me. They filled a photographer role on the weekends and then the designer during the week. And then I worked like 90 hours a week. It was awful. Like I remember sitting in the stadium offices at like 2 a.m, like putting together the Game Day magazine that was due that week, and just being like texting my wife, and she's like, well, we need this job right now, you know, and luckily I have the coolest wife in the world, and she's wicked supportive, and I'm getting to hit her back, return the favor here. She's getting her doctorate right now, and so I'm just, you know, chunking away. But so they gave me this project, and like, you know, I'll get asked to speak like webinars to freelancers or stuff like that. And I always tell people, it's like with freelance or client work or whatever, like your special sauce is like the thing you got to have in your back pocket. This is to go with anything, with any field, I think, is just do that little above and beyond. Like it doesn't take that much to just do the extra. And then if you really go the extra mile, right? So they'd given me a project, and they're like, here, you know, they gave me the directions. They're like, design these things. I was like, cool. Took me like, did it at my sleep. And then I was like, did this whole other thing. And so when I went back in to sit down with them and show them, I was like, yeah, here's what, you know, you'd asked for. Like, oh yeah, this looks good. This looks good. And I was like, here's what you didn't ask for. And they were like, what is this stuff? They're like, this is awesome. I was like, yeah, we can do, like, I can do this kind of stuff.
I can do more.
Yeah. I was like, this is like, let's go, And so, this was shortly after.
So
I
how
got
long
that job.
were you there with that gig?
So I was there one whole season, started in the summer. And then I don't know if I'd have been there longer. And then 2010 NFL lockout hit.
Oh.
And all you hear about is the players are going on strike because they want more money, right? So don't get me going on some of that. You had your last guest was an NFL guy, but like, it's the guys like me that lose their job at that time. And it ended up being the best thing that ever happened to me. Total godsend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, after working, nobody wants to work. It's not healthy to work 90 hours a week.
No,
right?
No, not at all.
So you didn't have a team with you or anything. It was just a one-man show?
I had an intern, and then I would work a lot with the production team who were the guys that sit up in the box, like the video producers, collaborate with them sometimes. And then there's marketing directors and ticket sales people all around me, and, but yeah, it was crazy, the workload that they didn't realize. There should have been a team, and I think now there's a team.
And creative takes time. I don't think people realize, man.
It does.
Until you start a venture like this or actually went out and done some professional photography, there's so much that happens in post. Like,
yeah. And then like laying out a magazine, 90 pages of a magazine. And they're like, well, the printer needs 3 days to print it, and then they need a day to distribute the magazine around the stadium. And I'm like, sweet. So you leave me with like 36 hours.
So you're just going around the clock to
90
get it out.
page layout. And dude, and wrangle ads, from the sponsors that would submit it the wrong size or have no idea. They'd send me a file and be like, this is the wrong size. And I have to like rejigger it around and like, I don't know. Yeah, just lots of random stuff.
Tedious.
So I got my Adobe skills on lock though, dude. Yeah.
So shooting on the field.
Yes.
Do you ever have any collisions or
Man, I had a close call one time.
Because you always see photographers getting taken out.
Yeah,
and I used to shoot high school football.
Yeah.
I lived in Texas for a short time, and I was freelancing in live entertainment. So I would go out and shoot professional boxing occasionally. But when I was at home, I shot high school football, Friday Night Lights.
Yeah.
And even at that, man, that was dangerous.
Yeah. So I was pretty, I had my wits about me. You got to have your head on swivel. And like, I've, played sports in high school. I'm like, no, like crazy athlete or anything, but like that job is like anticipating the action is how you get the good shots, So if you can like feel the flow of the game and be like, I'm feeling the ball's going to be over here, like, cause just the pace of the game. And I had maneuvered myself like nobody was downfield. And I'm like, this is just the way it's been going. Like they're going to be down the field in no time. And it was the year Tebow was quarterback.
Okay.
Killing it. And I was like, he's going to drive him down the field again, just like he's done the last however many times. And so I went around the back of all the players thing and then got to the other side of the thing. And when I walked up, there was like nobody there. And it was a matter of like 10 seconds that I was there. I got a couple of shots and then I was like, oh, it's going to be fourth down. I had to go back to where I was. I turned around and I damn near took a long snap in the face. Like the long snap punt, center was right there. And he got ready to hike it back.
Oh, he's just warming up or something.
Yeah. He was like warming up, and he stopped. But dude, I had almost took pigskin to the face and just got wrecked. And I was like, oh man. And I have my team vest on, like clearly I'm a team photographer versus press photographers thinking he's going to be like, oh yeah, sorry dude, almost wrecked you. But he's like, cut the F out of my face, He's like, get out of here. I was just like, I felt like this big at that moment. I was just like,
those players are a whole nother level.
They're humongous, and you put
fast and
cleats on them and all their pads. They look 3 times as big, Yeah. So that was my almost getting wrecked.
Almost, but never taken out on the sideline.
No.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. I mean, I could dish you some
sure
pictures.
You have some stories.
A couple pictures of me on the sideline. Like, yeah that's cool.
So then from there, is this when you kind of started like, okay, I guess, were you freelance there or you're full-time with the Denver
So
Broncos?
I was full-time there on staff, on salary. Then I get laid off. And then I started freelancing, after I got laid off. And that's the season where God stepped up. He was providing for us. Like I was actually making more money. I was like, how is this working? Like, this doesn't make sense on paper, but we're getting by. And then there was an ad agency that had this place, I'd been trying to get a job there for like 3 years. And it was like really hard agency to get into. And finally they had like a 3-month contract. Like, we just need an art director in here for 3 months to cover while one of our art directors is in Greece or something for 3 months on vacation sabbatical or something. I was like, yeah, just get me in there. Just get me in there. Let me show you what I can do. And man, it was awesome. At first, I was like, I made it. I'm like at a big agency, like Mad Men style, like big agency, big clients. Throughout my duration there, I started off working on like kind of the not so fun projects like Dollar General, Procter and Gamble products, Bissell vacuums, daily suck jokes when I worked on that account. But then I eventually got moved on. I got to work on Polaris, like motorsports stuff, which I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. This is fun. And then I got put in charge. I was the senior art director on Miller Coors. So doing stuff for Coors Light. And then funny enough, we're working on programs for the NFL, for the NBA, for NCAA. And I'd worked there a number of years. And then advertising life, was quickly like Broncos life, like tons of hours, client demands, money flying around. And I remember it was like, people, we're not saving babies. Like, this is going to be an ad, little digital ad on Amazon. Like, we're losing our minds over this. I'm like, people need to get a grip, And I remember when I had this aha moment, I was art directing a photo shoot back at Mile High Stadium for Coors Light NFL program. I'm looking around and we've got these, they call it models talent. It's like the talent's over here and they've got these dudes suited up who are models that look like NFLers, there's like the craft services truck with like $20,000 worth of food and crap for everybody to munch on, and like the equipment that we've got there and that what it costs to rent the stadium. I just remember thinking to myself, the amount of money and resources that they're spending today to sell, sorry if you're a Coors Light fan, but to sell really crappy beer to like 22-year-old D-bags. I was like, what am I doing with my life? I remember like that was the moment that then it was just like God was grinding on my heart. Like, dude, I've got more for you. Like, this is what your talents are supposed to be for. And then not long after, I took a job at my church as on the creative team. That's how I had met Ken over there. We worked together for years. And then, dude, I did ministry for 8 years. Super cool thing. That's just that was his plan for me. And, I stepped out of this advertising job and then into ministry. So it was like major pay cut.
Feel like you're taking 9 steps backwards, right?
Well, I mean, financially, but not
creatively.
Not creatively, not, spiritually, not in life. Like, man, it was like opened up this thing. Like, I worked right down the street from my kid's school where my wife teached and my kids went to school.
Which is super important. And that's what I was getting at. Like, you took 9 steps backwards career-wise.
Yes.
Or money-wise, right?
Yeah.
But I think that sometimes that's the most important thing is
100%
being genuinely happy and having family time. Because
Yeah,
working 90 hours a week is like, that's not healthy for anybody.
All of a sudden it was like, oh, I could bop over and have lunch with my kids at the school or go like hang out with, there's a school event or something and just be there to support my wife and my kids and, just do something that matters. And like, so stepping into ministry, that's when I started freelancing, like doing work for clients here and there or whatnot. And then after 8 years of doing that, I started to just build up enough momentum. And I've always wanted to do my own thing. I'm super, entrepreneurial, like crazypreneurial, whatever the term you want to call it is. And so I just had gotten enough momentum that it was like, oh, if I'm ever going to do it, I should do it now. And that was like a little over a year ago. And man, God's good. Like, it's like awesome. I've been everywhere from Honduras to Alaska and 10 different states in between. We were counting.
So this is when you really started traveling, is after, so from the church gig, you went basically into business for yourself, and you're just going to be the creative director. You're going to be it all, right? The one-stop shop.
Yeah. Yep.
And then automatically you take off and you start traveling all over the world to shoot stuff.
Yeah, my first gig, I had it lined up. It was like 3 days after my last day at the church. I flew to Atlanta, met up with John Lavelle and the Warrior Poet guys. We flew to Honduras. I filmed an episode for their network for them. We could talk for millions of hours, but like I ended up being a one-man crew on that, which was nuts because their other camera guy came down with COVID and couldn't go because he couldn't get on the plane. And so, imagine I'm like running mics and multiple cameras and audio and everything and directing them. And like, it was insane, dude. And using gear that wasn't mine, it was like so stressful. So I was like, I'd be on YouTube at night, like, okay, how do I use this thing?
Trying to figure stuff out.
Yeah, and then downloading footage, charging batteries and stuff. But man, it was awesome. It was like crazy cool experience. We went and filmed on a coffee farm because they have their own. It's like they have their own little coffee brand. It's good stuff. So they went down to the coffee farms where they source the beans and stuff, and that was super fun. Like I'd started drinking coffee a little bit, but man, have a whole new appreciation for it when you actually wake up on a coffee farm and have fresh coffee in the morning. You're like, whoa, I don't need to like. I used to think I like coffee, but it just turns out I just really like vanilla creamer. Like
right. Drink it black, right? To get the full flavor.
Yeah.
Was there even creamer there available?
No, I was even afraid to ask if there was. Like, I'd be like, that's rude, It's like, you don't insult somebody's cooking. It's like, ooh, do you have something I can put in this?
You got extra salt? Yeah. Yeah. So you go to Honduras for your first freelance gig, I guess, right? Or
I'd been freelancing, but this was like first solopreneur. Like, it's me. I'm in it. Like, I'm going for it, and and it's just been it's been a wild ride since. And now I've got Ken, who's sitting over there working with me full time, and just brought on a project manager. I've got a bookkeeper and an accountant. I feel so grown up, Right.
All the fun stuff. Right?
Yeah. I figured out what I'm not good at real fast, and then immediately was like, I need somebody to help me with that.
What was the hardest part of making that jump? Was it just courage to do it? Like, I found that's always been my hardest transition. Yep. Like, when I'm going to transition into something new or even starting the podcast or anything like that, it's just like, just actually freaking doing it, right?
Yeah.
Just going out and doing it.
It's
and
doing
then
it.
It starts to consume you a little bit, right?
It's making the leap. It was like we had, really good health insurance was paid for. Everything was covered. It was that security net, And what I would tell people now, like anytime, it's like, man, if I actually think about it, I'm like, I wasn't secure anywhere. I've been laid off from 2 different jobs. It's like you could be working for somebody and they tank the company, and then what? Like, there's nothing is certain. So it's like now I get to be in charge of my own destiny. It's like if I fail, it's on me. And I'm fine with that at the end of the day. Like, so I'll just get up tomorrow and just kick some more ass and just go that much harder, right? And so, like, if you're thinking about it, anybody's thinking about it, they're on the fence about doing it, it's like, just ask yourself, why are you not doing it, or why wouldn't you do it? And like, if there's this bigger reward on the other side, like whether that's freedom or being able to coach your kid's baseball team or having the time to make your schedule or, come up on a Thursday evening and hang with you, Bobby, and like, it's like, whatever. It's like, dude, just go do it.
Just do it for sure. And I think that was some lessons that I learned super early in life.
Yeah.
And I think part of that was growing up the way I did. And, and also not having a whole lot of money is just like, you got to make it yourself. Right.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people get stuck in like, I'll wait for the right time, or it's not the right time now.
Yeah.
And I think one of the worst things that you can do, and I brought this up on a couple podcasts ago, but you know, when I was thinking about starting this, I've worked behind the scenes for years since I've been out of high school, whether it was live concert production, behind a camera, whatever, right? Like that's been my background, and I never wanted to be in the limelight. Like anytime that there was a documentary being shot and they wanted to interview the crew or the road crew or anything, I was like, I was the guy that was like, no, I don't want to be interviewed.
Yeah.
Like, so I never wanted to do that. And when I thought I had the idea to start the podcast, I was just kind of like, I reached out to a few friends, and I think that can be a bad thing, because a majority of people that you reach out to when you have an idea, unless they're from that creative field, are kind of like, well, this could happen to you. They just tell you like kind of all the bad stuff that can happen to you along the way, right?
Well, I know exactly what you're talking about, and it's like, I'd say it's just lack of vision on their part. Like they don't see what you're seeing.
Well, they care about you too. So it's like,
but
not that they want to
safe.
shoot down your dreams, but they're looking out for your best interests.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Like, so yeah, I think that you just like, if you reach out to a majority of people, 80% of them are going to tell you some horror story of why you shouldn't do something.
Yeah.
So I think it's just stepping over that line or into that next.
Well, and you got to find those people you really trust and talk to them about it. I remember I'd been thinking about doing this, and I asked my father-in-law, his name is Dick, and I was like talking to him. I really respect him. He had grown a company and sold it, and he retired. He's just smart about everything he's done. And I really respect him. And I was like, you know, I'm married to his daughter, and like, I'm like, hey, I'm thinking about quitting my job and starting my own business. And I was just like expecting this, you know, really? Is that what you want to do? And he didn't miss a beat. And he's like, you're going to crush it. He's like, yeah, you're absolutely going to be successful. You're going to be great. I know you will be. Like, go for it. Do it. He's like, I mean, I don't know if he said this, but maybe he's like, I wonder what took you so long. Like, you know?
Yeah.
I was like, wow. Okay.
And we share some mutual friends. That reminds me of Mark and his daughter,
Yes,
Brooklyn, that
Mark.
we've had on.
Yes.
And shout out to Mark Montoya.
Yes,
But
Mark.
Brooklyn told the story of her going to her dad and being like, hey, I think that I want to be an ultra marathon runner. Or do you think I could run a marathon?
Yeah.
And he's like, you could run a marathon off the couch. So I think it's just having somebody in that
in your corner,
that mindset in your corner.
Yeah.
And if you don't have anybody in your corner, just go for it anyways, man. Fuck it. Like, there's nothing wrong with stepping into a void and failing. Like I failed so many times in my life.
It's so funny. My wife and I were just talking about this like yesterday, or the day before, and we're going on these 45-minute walks every day together, which is like the best thing for our marriage too. It's like we've got 45 minutes a day. We're outside just going for a walk together for our second workout. And she was talking about something with her degree she's pursuing, and I was like, I don't mean to sound cliche, but it's like Michael Jordan says, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. You know?
Yeah.
Like it's
so true.
It's good.
Right.
It's a knowledge bomb right there.
No, it really is, because I think, how are you going to even know that you failed at something, right?
Right.
Unless you try.
You don't know unless you try. Yep. And you know, like middle school baseball, I'm coaching these boys, and you know, they're getting down on themselves, they're striking out, they're missing it. It's like seeing their faces, like when it clicks, you know, like my son and I had to look this up. I was like, who has the best batting average ever of all time? Like, whatever. It's Ty Cobb, you know. It was like,
is it
maybe
still?
Look this up.
Yeah,
366 or something like
really?
that.
So is that a lifetime average then?
Yeah, like
Okay.
it's best all time. I hope it's 366. Now you're gonna look that up. Ty Cobb. Yep.
Or just look up the best baseball batting average, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. It's Ty Cobb. But you know, me telling them that's like a little over 3.5 times.
Yeah, 366. Spot on.
Out of 10 times at bat, and they're like, I could see their heads exploding inside. They're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, that's the best to ever play the game. And they're like, 3 out of 10 times. 3 out of 10, right?
Yeah.
It takes 3 out of 10 to be the best. So what are you afraid of?
Yeah. So they were probably crushing balls at that practice then, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, I mean, it fired them up. It was good. They were getting down on themselves because they're missing or it pop,
Yeah.
But yeah, after that, they were like, oh, they started having fun again.
So going into this, what has been your biggest struggle for anybody that's listening that might be starting something or wants to jump into something creatively? What is...
Great question. I would say that I didn't do it sooner, but then also I have this double-edged sword of like I believe everything's his timing. And so, yeah. And then, like I said, like figuring out the things I'm not good at and then finding someone who is. It took me like a year to figure that out. Or just like I've always had this thing. I've done like soul work, like through these church retreat things, like for men, and realizing that I've always had a problem asking for help. And I tell guys, I think as men in general, we're wired that way. Like, I can do it myself. I don't need to ask for help. Because I always thought asking for help was a sign of weakness. And so I never wanted to seem weak.
I hate asking for anything, honestly.
Right?
You know what I mean?
Most people do.
Yeah.
Because everybody has their reasons, right? But it's like, once I got over that, I mean, I still, will take on more than I should. But once like I said, bringing on Ken and hiring a project manager to just to help me to keep my brain inside my head, and like an accountant and a bookkeeper, right? Freeing.
Yeah.
And then it's like at the end of the day, I'm like, oh, that's covered. But somebody who could do it 1,000,000 times better than I can. Like, I know the things that I'm not good at.
Right.
That's only like,
and
3
you're
things.
good at the creative stuff, so you can focus on that more, right? Like,
yeah,
I've done the same thing with the podcast. When I first started, it was just, I did all the editing, every bit of it, and now I have some people helping me.
Yeah, you're in another situation. You got somebody over here running the board and checking cameras. You're free to just have conversation.
Right.
And you're not like, oh man, did the battery go out on that? Is the card full? Like, is the sound dropped?
You can focus more on on what's in front of you, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's super important. So going back to the career and everything, like, where are you at now and what is happening? Because you got all this cool stuff that's starting to happen.
Yeah.
You have this new YouTube channel that you were just showing me prior to this.
Yeah.
Can you pull back up that reel, Gabby?
Oh, that's just our promo reel for Tactical Creative. And so that's like kind of a niche that I've fallen into that just happened really fast, that I'm like, okay, I'm going to 100% go after this kind of market, right? And gear myself towards men entrepreneurs, men's brands, men's centric, masculine, more stuff like that. Like a buddy of mine was joking with me, like he was going to refer me a project to like a tech company. He's like, and he goes, I know it's not guns, trucks, or beer, but would you want to do? And I was like, I'm buying that domain name, right, and I'm going to make t-shirts that's got my logo that say guns, trucks, and beer, you know? So, but I mean, there's just so much work to go around. That's the other thing I tell people. Like, everybody's like, oh, I don't want to share my secrets or this or that. My mother-in-law was like, well, you're going to spill all your secrets on your YouTube channel, telling people how to do it. I'm like, don't worry, I'm only telling them this much. But
right.
But like, there's so much to go around. There's so much opportunity
there really
right now.
is.
If you actually stop and look and go, man, I could do that. Yeah.
And I look at it as a community too. You're only helping. You're only as strong as the people holding you up, I believe, right?
Oh,
so
right.
If you can help somebody, you never know where that's going to go or where that's going to come back around to you. And I try to view this podcast as a community. So we help anybody and everybody that wants.
Yeah. Like, I got a list of names for you. When we're done, I'll be like, you got to call these guys. They'd be great on here. Yeah.
It's helped us through sponsorship. It's helped us through build relationships. I mean, it's just kind of feeding itself, and it's being that open book and not hoarding it. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's been referrals, been getting to know this really rad dude named Sean Parnell. He wrote a book called Outlaw Platoon, and he was in Afghanistan, one of the most highly decorated soldiers to come out of there, like all the medals. And like they were in battle for like crazy, like firefight, like crazy amount of time. I'm gonna get it all wrong, so sorry, John, if you listen. Like, but
he's got a book, right? Where you can.
He's got a book out, but he knew he wanted to start a podcast and a thing, and he's friends with Ryan Mickler with Order Man, and Ryan is incredible. Of like, well, he'll share, and he'd be like, you know, he got to become friends with Sean. He's like, yeah, man, what do you want to know?
What's Sean's last name?
Parnell.
Okay.
Yeah, and one of the things Ryan was like, I use this dude Todd to do all my graphics and all my creative. Like, here's Todd's number. You know, just sharing that. I'm like, thank you, Ryan, by the way. You know, so Sean called me. I did all his branding, his logo. Have been kind of helping him with like tips here and there. You know, helped him kind of set up a makeshift studio. I was like, hey, grab this mic, this camera, this whatever. You know, and now he's got a podcast called Battleground.
Okay.
And yeah, and he's getting some heavy hitters on his show already right out the gate because he's just a badass. But I mean, dude.
But it's just about helping each other. Because Ryan very easily could have said, that's my guy, and I keep him so busy and there's no time, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think it's just sharing what you know and sharing your resources and helping somebody out.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I think that's important. And at the end of the day, we're only growing everything together is the way I look at it. Like I've had a ton of other people on that have their own podcasts or their own podcast hosts or stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I've tried to return the favor to some friends. I say no to a lot of podcast interviews just because I'm trying to focus on this.
Yeah.
But yeah, if a friend needs a guest or something like,
man, and
you know what I mean? It's huge.
Yeah. And you saying that, like we can go a whole nother tangent, but like the asking for help thing. And then also the power of saying no.
Yeah. That's huge.
That's like, I think those might go hand in hand of like, I'm not going to ask for help and I'm not going to say no to anything. Cause you know, deep down my brokenness is there's part of being a people pleaser in there. You know, and so it's like, yeah, I can do that for you.
Being honest about your time, right? Like, don't say yes if you can't show up, right? Like, be impeccable with your word.
Yep. And in the last year, I've had to really be hard. I've really had to work hard on protecting my time and my boundaries. Mm-hmm. You know, because I'll get texts from clients and this and that, and at first I'm like, I'm building my business. I gotta, it's like 5 a.m. and they're texting me because they're on the East Coast, and I gotta hit them right back. And I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
I'm just like opening the gate for them to just keep doing that. So, not responding on weekends or only respond during business hours or not give my cell phone out or whatever that looks like.
Yeah. And I think also, you really find out what somebody's about when you do tell them no.
Right.
You know what I mean?
They're either going to respect that or going to be like, oh, whatever. I'll find
and with this
else.
podcast, I've really struggled because I do like to please people, man. Like I do like to give people their opportunity. And we've been getting a lot of, as this thing is growing, we're a couple years in, we're 100 plus episodes now. And now I have all kinds of people coming to me as where it's like me just reaching out to people that I wanted to talk to. And I prefer it, me just reaching out to people I want to talk to.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I get asked by a ton of people to come on the show, and it's just like, it's not always the best fit for what I want to do, or that I don't know how I'm going to have an interesting conversation with this person that wants to talk about their company and what they're doing. It's like, this isn't an hour-long commercial, So I've said no to a lot of people, and it's crazy how some people get pissed off.
They get butthurt.
And,
like, what do you mean?
And I've had to learn to just say flat out no, as opposed to like, oh, maybe at another time, or we're too backlogged right now, or whatever, just a simple no. And you'll find out what people are really about sometimes when you tell them that.
Oh, so.
But not to make myself like we're the best podcast that there is. Like, there's a ton for me to learn still, we're still growing, still learning. So I don't want that to sound like I'm holding myself on a pedestal either. It's just like, I've really personally put it into my own creative stuff. It's like, I want to have Todd in because I want to learn about photography and what he's doing. your guys' podcast production level is top notch. I mean, right up there with like how I was talking about Cameron Haynes's, production level.
Well,
and it's made me want to step up my game. At first, when I first saw that, I was like a little bit jealous, a little bit. I was like, oh my God, I'm doing this. Or I just felt like I just fucked up 100 episodes, right? Like,
okay.
After seeing that 100+ episodes, like I'm totally doing it the wrong way.
Yeah.
And
but you're not, because you're doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
But I was a little bit jealous. But then as soon as I got jealous, I just turned around and shared like how great it was.
Oh, that's
to
awesome.
all of our listeners. Like go check this out. This is
awesome.
Amazing. So I think that's one way to get over that jealousy is like to actually share it with somebody, right?
Yeah.
Like,
and and to be fair, like years experience doing video shoots and stuff. So it's like it could be a little over the top for YouTube, right? Like we
yeah, but it's not. Like I enjoy watching it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like and definitely doing it the right way, for sure.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hear that, Ken? I can't take even all the credit because he's the guru over there, the Meister. He does all the editing and puts up with me and my crazy ideas. And then, like, take after take, I'm like, I sounded ridiculous. Let's do that again. But then he just puts it in the bloopers at the end. So most people,
it's all getting in there.
That's what kills us is because it's like, yeah, we did this awesome video. And then we go look at the stats and it's like a 10-minute video. And they're like, well, everybody jumps off at 2 minutes because that's people's attention span. They're like, oh, they didn't even get to the good part, or they didn't see the bloopers that roll after the animation at the end because you think it's over and it's like Easter egg, right?
Yeah. No, it definitely, I personally like it because maybe I come from that film background. Like we just had Donnie Vincent in.
Yeah, man, you're seeing that.
Yeah, we had an incredible time with him.
I just love to be a fly on the wall if you get him in again.
Oh man,
I
maybe we'll have you guys produce the next one,
bro. So I watched a ton of his videos because his stuff, he's got a crew, right? And he's doing stuff for like Cabela's shoots creatively. Like he has like a production thing, and I watched a ton of his videos because one of my buddies, he's an ex-Navy SEAL dude, hired me to go film he and his buddies bear hunt in Kodiak Island, Alaska last year.
No way.
Yeah, so I've never done anything close to that. Like
So was this just for personal stuff, or is he actually?
So
is
they're
this
gonna
footage
do
available
this
somewhere?
They're gonna do this. They're gonna use the footage to tell a story at a time coming up for something they're working on, and so, but
we don't have to dive into details. So
no, but I've got an episode on my on the YouTube on our channel about the gear that I took.
Tactical creative.
Well, it's on.
Right?
Well, it's on the Design Shoot Build YouTube channel, and I just did a gear breakdown because, I probably every dude is like, yeah, I'd love to just make videos about gear. That'd be fun. And so I was like, let's make a video about all the gear that I took because I had to do tons and tons of research on from everything because I'm actually not a hunter. I love hunting, and I've been on millions of hunts, and I've grown up going hunting with my dad. Like everything under the sun, you name it, I've probably been on 50 times more hunts than most hunters, if that makes sense. I just prefer to take my camera, and that might change, who knows, but I know I have such an addictive personality. If I get into hunting, like I've already have so much money in camera gear.
I don't know, because I do both, and like the entire time I'm out hunting, I'm wishing that I was honestly behind the lens.
Okay.
Because it's like September's my favorite time of year to shoot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I enjoy taking photographs. And I get bashed for this all the time, but I'm not trying to be Cameron Haynes. I'm not trying to I'm pretty much strictly a meat hunter. I'm not, that's really the only reason I'm out there, and to teach my kids some,
that's great.
Adversity, some work ethic, and just value life, I guess, in general is kind of my premise behind it. But I love, if I can get my hunt done, then I'm going out with the camera.
That's awesome.
I feel like I'm cutting into camera time.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
But that's me personally. So
no, and I had a blast following around with the camera, and I'm looking at all the stuff that they're not looking at, and then we're looking out for bears. So there's that. You don't wear headphones when you're recording video.
No.
I was like thinking about that. I was like, how am I going to make sure the audio works? And so, I got some equipment that I could see the levels. So I didn't have to rely on headphones because I wasn't going to walk around with the cord dangling or even have headphones in my ears when we're in bear country. And,
that's not even the best thing, right?
No.
To watch out for is hearing, you never know it. Those things are so fast. And when they decide to charge, did you guys have any close calls up there?
We were close to one, and I have footage of it. Like, we were super close to this one, and it was too small for him. Mm-hmm. And I remember thinking, that's too small. Thing is humongous. And I remember, we came up on it, and I was in between the two guys, and there was like this, and like I look over and he's like nodding his head, moving, it's like I see something moving in the bushes. That's definitely a freaking bear back there. And then he looks at his buddy and he's just doing the thing with his eyes. I was such a dork, dude. I remember looking around going, oh, I'm speaking Navy SEAL right now. Like, I'm doing this, like, the stupid stuff, like, but I feel like I was Jack Black in some movie or something, it's like, anyways, but
I think I see something in the back of the refrigerator.
Yeah. Yes, you know what I'm talking. You got that reference. I love it. He's like, you don't have to make
Silverman, man.
You don't have to make the
staple
sound. It already makes the sound. Steve Zahn, so funny.
That's hilarious.
But I was just like just geeking out in that moment, and then so I got sick footage of it, and I just happened to put a 100-500 lens on my R5. And I was carrying the C70 around, which is the bigger cinema camera that doesn't take stills. But I was like, I'm going to switch it out. That was a total God thing. Like, I wouldn't have got like these sick photos of the bear with a camera that only shoots video. So I switched over to the hybrid camera. I get stills and video. And I had the giant lens on. And we were already close enough, but I was able to, like, you could see the claws on this thing.
Wow.
Like, you could just like, that thing would just rip you to shreds. And I got back and I've been telling people, it's like, there's so many people that have done this. I mean, maybe not so many people, but like you haven't lived until you've locked eyes with an apex predator. Like the adrenaline and just the everything in me, like the excitement, the fear, it's like everything. It's like,
it's very primal feeling.
Oh my
sure.
gosh.
Yeah.
Primal. That's the best word for it. Like,
and that's what I think back to, because it kind of puts you back in your place, right? And
you realize how insignificant you could be, how small you could be, and just vulnerable.
And it's a great reset to let you know who you are, and where you're at, in the food chain. Really, if something,
and we're out in their backyard, at their house, so it was like even more humbling that way,
And then growing up in Wyoming, did you have grizzly encounter? I mean, have you been around bears and stuff?
I'd seen some brown bears and black bears. Never seen a grizzly until Alaska. They're up there, but they're very recluse. And but it wasn't uncommon to see a bear here and there. Little black bears or cubs or mama bear, chilling in the back, or a brown bear. Like I remember, I'm like, oh, Dad, is that a grizzly? And he's like, well, it's just a brown bear. I'm like, what's the difference? Right. He's like, you'll know if you see a grizzly. He's kind of like, let's hope we don't see one. Yeah,
big difference.
Yeah, but moose, elk, deer, everything.
Going back to Donnie Vincent and just some of that cinematography that he creates is so beautiful, And we brought up, some of our Francis Ford Coppola is one of my favorite filmmakers of like Black Beauty. We brought that up during the podcast, and so I have a real appreciation for that. So maybe. Not everybody does with that 2-minute, time span, but I think that I think going back to that, if people just take a minute and actually take it in for what it is, and that connection, I think that there's a connection there, and that's what I love about what Donnie displays, right? Is more the connection with nature than just like the outdoor channel, like, oh, here comes this bull. Boom, it's the perfect shot, cut to commercial.
I was already enamored by how cool his stuff was, and then going and trying to film. I'm going to say trying. Like, I went and filmed it, but I was trying to film it. Like, I have a whole nother level of appreciation for the stuff he's putting out. I'm like, I know how hard that was. That was insane that they got that. They're like,
right.
Like it's crazy.
So what projects are you guys working on currently? Can you talk about them, or is there?
I know
you just got back from a big trip, King of Hammers or something, right?
Dude, that truck race in California called King of the Hammers, freaking gnarly. Man, that was nuts. Yeah. So that was actually I was the week prior, the end of the week. So I loaded up my truck, drove to Salt Lake here from Denver, and filmed at the Western Hunt Expo. So did a project with Order of Man there. We got to interview Josh Smith, Montana Knife Company, and Trevor Farnes, founder, CEO of Mountain Ops.
Awesome.
Great dudes. Shout out. Hoping to get to work with do some projects with those guys. But there's a potential Africa trip with Mountain Ops. I'm hoping goes through to go film some stuff for them.
Super rad.
Yeah.
It's another great company too.
Yeah. I mean, he's a strong believer, super family man, all that stuff. Like just they're a solid dude. And they're doing cool stuff. They donate every time you make a purchase from Mountain Ops, they're giving a meal to a family in need.
That's pretty incredible.
Super rad. And it's like something like, what's the stats, Ken? Is like how many millions of meals that they've donated, or over 1 million. But as far as like projects coming up, we just finished the edit for the Hunt Expo and the King of the Hammers thing. You can check that out. Actually, we're going to drop on our YouTube channel just like I tried to film as much behind the scenes of myself shooting that, but like I've talked about it on a couple. We did a behind the scenes shoot with Earth Roamer. We did a shoot for them last summer. If you don't know, they build these like $1 million camper trucks. Dude, I had no idea they start at $750K is a base model, and they've built them out.
Some of those shots you guys were getting in that hangar,
yeah,
were incredible. Like sitting next to a C7 or whatever.
Yeah, I don't remember what that thing was, but dude, that was a fun shoot. And then Ken was kind of following me around, and it's like I wasn't going to stop every second and explain what I was doing because I'm on client dime, and that's the truck race. I was there with my client, side by side with my client the entire time. We stayed in Airbnb, so it's not like I could just, they're paying me to be there. So I have to be respectful of like, he was cool about, getting some stuff with his phone, and even took my camera, and I did a quick little, hey, we're here at the King of the Hammers, and I'm filming, like 5-minute thing. But, so anyways, we'll be cranking that video out by the time this airs. Probably you'll be able to go check it out.
Nice.
And, we've got a 3-day shoot next week, and we've got cool stuff coming up. I'm doing some rebranding projects for some clients. So that's the cool thing about what I do. It's like when one kind of facet isn't like, going crazy, like there's ebbs and flows, right? So it's like we could be busy with photography work, we could be busy with video work, or I could be busy with design branding work. And so just having all those skill sets, just like it all interweaves, and I'm just always busy, which is great, So
yes, if somebody wanted to contact you or view where you do some of this creative work, how do they get a hold of you, and what's the best way?
Yeah, I've been trying to streamline this, but tvftacticalcreative.com. I just launched this, and then I have toddvanfleet.com, which has kind of been my old site.
We didn't even get into your bicycle landscape.
Yeah, that's what my hat logo is.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother can of worms right there. But so the tactical creative stuff is more like me being strategic about what I do. So this is like a brand that I can umbrella all of the services.
Those beer cans are awesome, man. Shout out to that's Kip's Brewery, isn't it?
Yeah, and so I got those cans, and I took them to auto 4x4 shop up the street from my house, and that's a dude's toolbox that was in the background. And I got him to like do some metal grinding so the sparks are flying behind the cans, and did a long exposure. And then we did this shoot for some Warrior Poet products, their coffee stuff, and
nice.
Yeah, but everything I'm doing pretty much you can find out of here. And
did you design the artwork for the Cameron Haynes signature through Origin stuff?
No,
Okay.
I didn't do that. I've got some hunt designs I did for them that might be launching soon. And there's another project in the works we're doing. And Kip is involved with the Cam Haynes stuff. The Keep Hammering Collective is the new thing that they launched. And I'm hopeful I'm going to get to work with them. I've been talking to his marketing gal about some stuff, and hopefully there's some stuff that will come to fruition there. But
super rad.
I'm just super grateful for everything that's been coming my way, and it's like working with cool people and doing cool stuff.
Well, it's so awesome that we run kind of in the same circles, you know, would know a lot of the same people, have a lot of the same affiliations, and you're here in Colorado.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
This has been a lot of fun, man. We've been at it for an hour and 45 minutes now, and I want to be respectful of your time.
It
flew by. But yeah, definitely go check out Tactical Creative, especially if you're in the outdoor space, you need some design work. It is truly top notch. All the logos, video, footage, all that sort of stuff. I definitely want to talk to you off the mic if you got a few minutes about what we're doing here, and could use some pointers and
absolutely,
and some
love to
creative direction there as well. And man, I'm grateful for your time, and I look forward to having you back.
Absolutely, bud. I can't wait. Yeah. Thanks, Bobby.
For listening. One more time, social media.
Spots
where they can find you.
Either at Todd Van Fleet or Design Shoot Build is our YouTube channel. And that's like a whole nother venture of a business that we're building. And then TVF Tactical Creative. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
All right. Thanks everybody for listening.
Good.
All right. Awesome. Thanks for listening to the Mountainside Podcast. If you haven't had a chance to do this already, please take a moment, follow, like, subscribe, or rate on whatever platform you catch the Mountainside Podcast at. Also, if you'd like some more information on upcoming episodes, safety tips, access to all of our affiliates, and all the badass discounts that we get here at the Mountainside Podcast, check out themountainsidepodcast.com.